Okay, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Etrax for giving me this plushie. He is my #1 fan. I expect all of you to beat his score now. Buy me stuff. No, just kidding.
Buy this man. Your best plushed animals.
I accept plushies as bribes. If you buy me a thing, I will review your thing.
I didn't bribe him. I'm just terrible with money.
Hello everybody, my name is Changeling number 32, and just like the cicada, I don't show up very often, but when I do, you can bet it's gonna get real loud and obnoxious. So, are you ready to hear about a Saints Row 4 crossover? What's that? Some of you are over the age of 30 and have no idea what a Saints Row is? Well, sit on down and let me spin you a yarn. Once upon a time, there was a game called Saints Row. The main character, known as the Boss, leads a gang known as the 3rd Street Saints. And they do stuff, I think. I don't know, I never played it. Then Saints Row 2 came out, and it was kind of more the same, I think. Never played that one either. Then there was Saints Row the 3rd, where our lovable cast of misfits decide to become pop culture celebrities, on top of being a gang. And they do more stuff. Man, I really need to stop reading and play more video games. Finally, there's Saints Row 4, and this, my friends, is where things get interesting. The gang wants to step it up a notch, and decide to become heroes instead. After saving the world from a terrorist plot, the boss is elected as the President of the United States. Unfortunately, aliens invade and take the boss and his, or in this case her, gang as prisoners. The big bad alien known as Zinyak traps the crew into a virtual simulation of their own worst nightmare. When the boss escapes, Zinyak gets mad and blows up the Earth. Now the Saints are mad, swear revenge, and fight back by causing as much havoc in this simulation as they possibly can. In case you haven't figured it out yet, Saints Row 4 is a little dumb. But that's the point. You see, Saints Row 4 is to video games what Spaceballs is to Star Wars. It's got violence, meta humor, vulgar language, cheeky protagonists, and more sex jokes than your average South Park episode. But you know what it's missing? Ponies. And this, my friends, is where our story begins. One day, the boss is doing her usual daily dose of carnage when her hacker pal Kinsey discovers that there's a unicorn in the system. Eager to see this mythical creature in person, the boss decides to find her. Within the simulation, she finds a very confused and terrified Twilight Sparkle, who's been stuck in a nightmarish video game where all her friends have been reading cupcakes too many times. With the gang leader's aid, Twilight escapes and finds herself in the company of the 3rd Street Saints. Will she find her way home? Can Sparkle and the Saints work together to save the day? Find out in Saints and Sparkles. Now when you're making a crossover with a comedy game, the most important thing you need is, well, comedy. Thankfully the author delivers. The dialogue is quick and snappy, the crew treat each other just like old friends, and they're all just as crazy as they were from the game. However, the addition of Twilight Sparkle adds a new ingredient to the comedy pool, the ever-so-classic fish-out-of-water routine. In order to keep up with her new allies, the unicorn must learn lessons like the importance of seatbelts, and how exactly do you hold a gun? She also partakes in several of the missions and running jokes featured in the game, like the classic romance gag. As someone who played the game, I got a kick out of seeing Twilight bumble her way through the chaos. However, I can't shake the feeling that the uninitiated might have trouble getting into it. So anyway, it's all fun and games, until the second half, where things take a strange turn, especially when you look at the character of Twilight Sparkle. When talking about her character arc, the author apparently took inspiration from Far Cry 3, a game in which a rich and pampered white boy finds himself fighting for survival on a dangerous island, ultimately becoming a dangerous killer in the process. The inspiration definitely shows. The more Twilight partakes in the action, the more she begins to enjoy it, And for an incredibly self-conscious girl like her, this takes a real toll on her. She begins to question herself, paranoia filling her head. What would her friends think of her? Could she ever go back to her old self? While she does eventually find her way home, Twilight is ultimately changed for the worse, becoming the very thing she feared. A monster. Twilight's corruption is probably one of the best and worst things about this story. On one hand, seeing her fall from grace lends for some really dark and emotional scenes. And if there's anything I like, it's some good old-fashioned emotions. On the other hand, I can't help but feel like it goes against everything that Saints Row stands for. Given its aggressive disregard for realism and seriousness, having a crossover take a dark turn like this feels about as fitting as a mute Deadpool. Whereas Saints Row 4 ends with the crew dancing along to Montel Jordan's This Is How We Do It, Saints and Sparkles ends with Twilight murdering Starlight Glimmer's entire village from Season 5. In fact, the second half of this story is just way too joyless for me. On the last chapter, the author makes another note about how he lost passion for the game while writing the story, and it really shows. The final boss fight is ripped straight from the game with no real twist to it, and the humor runs dry. When Twilight returns to Equestria, the Saints basically disappear into the background, with all the attention on the unicorn's broken psyche. It's slow, uncomfortable, and really unpleasant. If this were a Far Cry 3 crossover, this ending would be fitting. But Saints Row is a game where you can dress up like an anime schoolgirl and kill aliens with a dubstep gun. Why is this story so depressing? So yeah, this one's a mixed bag for me. I liked how he captured the spirit of Saints Row, and I was initially very entertained by the frenemy relationship between Twilight and the Saints. I just wish the story had stayed that course, as there was so much comedic potential left to be discovered. Fans of the game will definitely get a kick out of it, but if you're not, then I wouldn't even bother checking it out. It's a decent story that ultimately takes itself a bit too seriously. And that's it. That was actually, less than 10 minutes. Maybe I'm just getting lazy. So, now that that's over with, what's next on the to-do list?
Let's see here. You still have Spiders and Magic 4.
Yeah, obviously.
A lot of people want you to review the bridge.
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah, that one's long, yeah.
In a flash of lightning, let them wonder. More onomatopoeia stories.
Yeah, maybe I can get to those eventually.
The Wheel and the Butterfly, the Dan Versus story.
Yeah, I could eventually.
Hey look, a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers one. A minor variation. Back to the Past. There's onomatopoeia again. Boy, he pops up a lot around here. Let's see. Integration. A new hero. Oh, wow, that's almost a million words long. Oh, boy, that's... Ooh. Fortune favors the bold. Yeah, maybe. Ooh, My Little Arkham. That's a Batman Arkham Asylum crossover we could do. Ooh, Transformers Fall of Equestria. That's definitely on your to-do list. Kingdom Hearts, Equestria Girls. Oh, yeah. I haven't played the game, but... Hey, look, Stardust. That one's pretty highly critically acclaimed, obviously. It needs more attention than it's already gotten, so... Ooh, look! The Life of a Wanted Changeling, a.k.a. my biography. A little bit of joke there, yeah?